this beautiful little blouse that I got on sale. And there's only like once in a blue moon I find this designer that I really, really like. And I found this designer on, oh, hello everybody. Just right back into fashion. I found this designer when I was on my way to Japan. And there was this really cool little boutique in the airport. And I went in there because I had like 4 hours to kill. And I went in there, I was like, oh my God, the things in this store are amazing. And I ended up talking to the lady because that's what I do. I just like, la 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 la, la 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 la. And anyways, the designer's name is Designal. And I always recognize Designal. It's very unique and beautiful designs. There's usually, hello sweetheart, there's usually embroidery on it. So I'll show you the little embroidery. Show the beautiful little embroidery. They have beautiful, beautiful fashion. I used to wear their denim all the time, and they used to have these beautiful little embroidered things on the pockets. It was really, really sweet and cool. And then she'd have beautiful things on the back pockets. It was so, so cute. And they were like skinny, the skinny denims. And usually their stuff is like, it's usually pretty expensive. But I don't know, the fashion gods just love me. Because I'll go into a store, just to shop, to window shop. I mean, look at the little stars. You can see the little stars that are like sewn on. A little there. Like there's little stars at the end of the little stars. It's so cute. Anyways, most of their things has like little threading and fat, sewing on it. And the little glitter pieces. So adorable. Anyways, and it's a wrap. And so it wraps over. It would be a little bit more ironed because I went to the gym this morning. I threw it in my gym bag. And so it's not as pressed as I would like. But it's a super, super soft material. And it's a wrap. It just wraps around you. And it's got these long little tassels, right, that wrap up at the tummy. And so normally, I lost all of my clothes that I had before. I had a few pieces of Designal. Designal, and they're boutiques, and they're not all over the place. Airports, and so you can get this stuff there, and it's beautiful things. And if you get them on the season ending, you can get everything at slash like 60% off. So I went in there just as I was heading to Japan for my teaching excursion, and anybody that won't, there's probably nobody else that will say excursion with teaching, but I do. Because I love teaching. So anyways, I went in the store and they had a huge sale. So I went and I got a couple of their denims that were all embroidered, at the pockets and on the back. And so this blouse, anyways, I went in, and of course there's only 1 or 2 Designal pieces, and if you can get the jacket, they do a lot of jackets as well, like, and then they'll do embroidery on certain parts of the jacket. It's not all over the place, but they'll do the little, but I always know, like even when I was in my store and I was styling for people, I always knew, didn't even look how I did my makeup this morning. I just like put the little glitter on about. So, and if you could just get a couple of pieces, right? Like just get a couple of pieces, and you can get them on sale, like at the markdown stores. They send all of the things some really nice pieces, like from DKNY, and the name brands that I like DKNY, and I like Designal. But Designal you hardly find because they don't mass produce. They don't have production centers like Calvin Klein, and I think it's New York based, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, go onto their website, Designal, and there are some places that house Designal denim and blouses and jackets. They do jackets too. The jackets are really, really pretty and really nice. But anyways, if you go into the markdown stores, you can just flip through and just see what you find. But anyways, there's 1 or 2 pieces that you'll come across, once every 6 or 8 months. And I was in there and I was just like, oh my God, there's the Designal. Because I know Designal, I'll just pull it. I said, oh my God, that's got to be Designal. And it is. So it was nice to find that there. And it was like for $12.99. I was like, wow. But I lost all my other stuff from my locker. I lost everything that I had collected, some really nice pieces. And all of my crystals and I thought it was the universe saying it was time to, because there was a lot of money I'd spent on crystals, back in Calgary. But I lost everything just because I couldn't afford to keep the locker, and they sold everything. But I had so many crystals, and I had just like a huge locker filled with, lots of some of the kids' things, and it was sad. And then this over here in Victoria, I ended up going through my locker and just pulling everything out, and then I lost whatever was in my car. My car got impounded because it was parked in the wrong place. And then so I lost all that stuff. And then my computer was in my bag, and my computer got stolen. So I mean, everything's got to be replaced, obviously. But anyways, it was just kind of one of those, little moments where, I had found Designal, and it was kind of a thing like, oh wow, there's a Designal piece. Maybe I can start, a tiny one little piece here and there. Even if you're homeless, you can still look pretty, right? And I thank my beautiful friends that sent me that donation. I'm so beautifully thankful for you. And I send you love and prayers, and I bless you always. We're going to do some really fun things today. We're going to talk about relationships. It's going to be really important. And there's some more things that, John, yeah, with the various things that I've been doing research on, as opposed to the things that are coming up from the underground and what the governments have really been involved in, shadow governments and various programs, the MK Ultra, and how big MK Ultra was really across North America, and of course some places in Russia as well. And so there's things that I'm going to be posting here and there. I also have to get a handle, and I have to ground some of that energy, because it's quite strange for people to have, the Epstein, I know that in some of the videos that I've watched of the documentaries and the underlying, intentions of Epstein's, there was well, I think the energy I got was that he was wanting to, he kind of interested in having his genetics, be the, kind of the Aryan race kind of thing, way back when we used to hear about those silly little things. But anyways, why I focus so much, and if you can please share my videos as much as possible, anytime we talk about the soul's blueprint, and it's so very special to me because, just like these little pieces, right, that you'll find, and it's really important that we keep the uniqueness and the genuine design and the goosebumps that Mother, Father give us, and how spirit is threaded within everything, right? There's spirit threaded within everything. And our focus and our building of this new earth is, and the bursting of new bubbles, is to return all of our focus and all of our intention back to the importance of relationship. The relationship within ourselves, relationship within who we are within our soul's blueprint, and really start working daily with really deepening what relationship means to you. Because in all of my ascension path work, and all of my books, and all of those moments where I've had epiphanies, and I wake up, or something just happens in my consciousness, or something just clicks, and my teams are able to open something for me to have everything kind of fit into place, especially with the last 5 years, because there's been so many timelines I've been jumping, universes I've been jumping. Yeah. Oh, I know, right? He's got a lot of children. He's got a lot of children. It's, anyways, on it. It's happened, and we have to just give as much compassion to the children that are so very brave, so very brave, to carry that energy and to transmute it. These, definitely star kids for sure. God's had absolutely God's hand, of course, in placing the beautiful children that are so very courageous to come forward. There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot that we're going to have to really, and this is where I want us deep in today. We're going to do a clearing and a healing, and then we're going to ground. And then I want us to really go in. I've got goosebumps already, so it's really going to be a healing session today, I can tell. So you might want to get your tissues. I don't think I got any tissues. But what we want to do is we want to really wrap ourselves around relationship. And what does that mean? Wrap ourselves around the DNA, the relationship with our DNA, the relationship with our bodies, the relationship, the multidimensional fields. And again, I had everything taken from my car, and it had all those nice, films and those sheets of all the chakras and the colors and the fields and the colors of the fields and everything. So You know, when I get some money and I get set up in a place and I get all my right tools and my a new laptop and things like that, I'll get new sheets and I'll get it done by an illustrator and have it all nicely ready with flimsies and things like that on, you know, GIFs and things, you know, that are actual images that are moving. That's what I'd really like. But really wrapping ourselves around all that we are and to really focus on the multidimensionality of who we are and the relationship of multidimensionality. What does that mean? And how can we really start replacing this everyday envelope and everyday nourishment of the garden and nourishment of who we are in the garden, and really bring the relationship is in everything that we are and do. Because that's really in all that I've been seeing and the investigations, and I really go to the deep, because there's a point where you get where it's like, how and why would any of this occur? Like, how and why would anyone think that these things are okay? Like, how and why? And I really, I mean, I have to understand too that I'm advanced. So for me, it makes sense that the design of the Father is the purest and holiest design. And I say holy as in the healthiest, as in the highest, as in it's designed for your soul's blueprint, because I understand all that stuff. But there's programs, and I know it does have to relate to the hybridization program. So I just wanted to say that. So Cluedo, if you can remind me in a second or two, I just want to go a little bit further. We're going to talk about the hybridization program and why all of these earth mirrors of hybrid one-offs that humans have been doing. And so I want to thread that back up to the Galactic Celestial Universal Hybrid Program, because there have been species that have taken themselves out of the Christ consciousness. They've been taking themselves out of crystalline reproduction. And there are many things that are coming back on Earth as far as the species that are being reintroduced to the hybrid program. And of course, that is between God and that is between the heavens and the systems of light. I'm a part of that hybrid program, but it's ultimately God, that it's ultimately Source Creator, Mother, Father, that know the expansiveness, the inhale and the exhale of the entire galaxy, of all planets, of where expansion is going next, where the different and Source has given you know, creatorhood to those species that have chosen to you know, have the babies in a baby type of pods, you know, where there's many babies being, because they're not all the babies would make it, not all the babies would survive, right? So a lot of these hybrid species, whether it's in Celestial Galactic or whether it's on Earth, because there's much going on in Europe and Russia. I mean, I heard this about 10 years ago about the baby farms in Russia, and they were trying to make ultra humans and things like that. Now, how much of that was true, I'm not sure, because it was just disheartening to me. But what we have to do is that whatever is coming up in this earth energy, the collective energy, we have to understand that it is, and I got goosebumps everywhere, so there's going to be some healing today for sure. Because I'm a surrogate mother for the hybrid children in the Celestials. And so it's going to be, I can feel it. I can feel myself toggling between celestial and earth. And although not all, you know, earth parents are functional, you know, at least it's kind of a, you know, do you opt for the dysfunctional earth parents or the species baby farm, you know, where there's no parents? You know, I mean, what are the, so this is why we want to talk about relationship. These things are all going to come up. And there's a lot of us on Earth that are very closely, and have been, many of us, especially the ones that have been more advanced, we have experiences in the hybrid co-creation process. And of course, in the higher realms, they are of higher crystalline energy. They're of higher intelligence already. So they don't necessarily need the nurturing of the parents that we have in our timeline, where the children leave home at 17. Children are leaving home on higher vibrational planets, like the fifth dimensional planets. They're leaving their houses, if you will, or their pods, or their family collective, you know, at the ages of 3 in our times of speaking, because they are that advanced, you know. So it's not like the parent structure that will have to get used to harmonizing into something new and more advanced and more expansive. We've come from such traditionalities, we've come from such, again, dysfunction, because of the wounding and the non-integration of the soul fragments. And the soul fragments, again, are the divine feminine, the divine masculine energies, and the kundalini that is moving up and down. So they are showing me that as I'm just looking at this kundalini, I'm also awakening many of my new celestial gifts. So this is why I want to have this open dialogue. So these gifts, this open dialogue is helping me activate many of my recent celestial gifts. So thank you for tuning in and joining us. So this DNA, they're showing me that in these, and this is where we have to understand the procurement, so look that word up, the procurement of these later stage earthly energies of these farms and programs, MK Ultra and the pedigree race, pedigree race, and these ideals and the Aryan, all these old things from long ago. We want to understand that there are low vibrational separations, and of course they had no understanding of the soul's blueprint. I am the one about the depths and the widths and the grandeur of the soul's blueprint, and why you returning to your authentic, genuine self and working with the relationship within, working with the source relationship within, working with your teams and your higher self and all that you are as a divine soul and spirit, multidimensionally balancing your emotional body, your mental body, intellectual body, spiritual body, sexual body, all of these bodies in the fields that you are within and without. And that's why I was hoping for the chakras and the fields that I have those images and pictures, but we'll have to imagine it. And just all of these things that we're meant to harmonize now and bring into higher vibrational relationship. And because it was later in the process of our ascension, because God always has, God's design and why and how a planet moves in and how it moves through in its ascension. And so know that as most of us that have been on the path for quite some time, there will be some very emotional things that will come up that we're going to have to deal with, that will help us and assist us in dealing with the things that we're seeing on Earth crop up here and there. But we're going to see it more and more because, again, everything that was hidden must come out. And we're going to have to, again, with our expertise and with all of our beautiful knowledge that we've been practicing and we've been bringing to the forefront, is our multidimensional healing. And learning that as we consciousness, again, the children aren't going to necessarily need to stay with us in the home till 17 or 21 or however long it is. And again, some cultures, the children stay at home, and so do the elders, the grandparents. They all live under one roof, like many families in Asia. So those families, so a lot of our traditionality, a lot of our lineage, a lot of our familial, and a lot of our Akashic energies that have been with us for eons, thousands of years. We're going to be going through a lot of changes, because they're also reminding me that there will be those that have been on our journey that won't be on our journey. They've chosen to go out and explore other things and explore other dimensions and other realms and other frequencies. And they've chosen to take other paths. So not all of the people that we've grown with, and those of us that have been through the healing dodecahedron, we understand that we've had to really let go and release a lot. There is no attachment. So for some of us that have been on this journey for quite some time, we understand that we're not going to go into this new earth experience with all of the ones that we were born with. Yes, the procurement. So with the word procurement, so thank you for writing that down, Cluedo. We want to put that word in procurement in the Divine Father's plan for hybridization throughout the universe, throughout the universe, because again, there's many species that have taken themselves out of crystalline energy, not being advanced enough, not being evolved in its crystal evolution. This is where I've been making it so fundamentally important that I've asked in every one of our sessions, how important is your soul's evolution? Because if we do not advance and take commandmentship of our crystalline light, it holds back our evolution. And there will be some stages that we just cannot go past because the crystalline light is just not high enough. So we do have to really step on the table, and we do have to step forward and really start getting excited about working with our crystalline energy, about working with our crystalline light, about working with light as often and as much as we can throughout our day, and building as much as a close, honoring, as much as this soaking of the benevolence of who we are as Mother, Father, God in that relationship of our beautiful soul print, our beautiful design, and really get rich with these beautiful relationship experiences. Because we don't want to, as we've said in our video yesterday, there was an astute warning about, we have to understand that moving into 5D, we're going to have a certain level of consciousness. You can't just walk into 5D I mean, I've been very awake since I was born here, and I've had some pretty far out there things that I've had to process, you know. But my mind and my brain has been enhanced, so I can those downloads that are sometimes, well, they are all multidimensional. Every download you get from your pineal, from the source and from your higher self, is multidimensional. As you advance and as you amend and as you enhance and encourage light within your multidimensional bodies, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, sexual, all of these matter things are changing with light, with the crystalline energy. If you're doing the work like I do, where you're doing your healing sessions at night and you're doing affirmations throughout your day and you're working with light all day, you're working with spirit all day, then the procurement of what I'm calling in as energy from the substrates, from the omnipresent, from source creator, from my teams, from God, from all of these councils and all these things that I'm going on, because I know that I'm hopping and jumping many timelines, and I can see that. And I'm getting into that more expansiveness. This is why I'm glad that we can have just these open dialogues about the things that I'm seeing celestially, the things I'm seeing within the collective, and really expand it as vast and as wide as it needs to be. I don't necessarily have to do my channeling evermore in my writing form. So I have to ask my teams if I need to do that, because I know that some of my channelings that we're going to make in a book, and that we're going to make in Liturgies of Light books. So I don't know. I'll have to talk about that later. But so anyways, so the procurement of the hybrid DNA, remember, so the DNA is filled with every codon, and they're saying, yes, I'm right. Every codon is filled within, help me come up with the word, Spirit, instruction sets, design sets. So Cluedo, this one's for you. If you're working with like back in the olden days, we used to have paint by numbers, right? And you used to have these big things like this that used to have paint by numbers, and you'd just have the little paint kit, right? And you'd have like 2 or 3 paintbrushes. And so this is what the codon is. It's like a paint by numbers. It's a set of instructions that have color coding and number coding, except with the DNA, it's light coding, it's celestial coding, it's the coding of God, it's the God essence. So we can't really, I don't like to put, colors and numbers to it, because it's just, it's God divine. It's beyond what we can explain. That is the majesty, that's the miracle, that's God divine. So this is the relationship I want to build with everybody. I want to, if you can, if you're very serious about altering the body and the shape of your body and the youthfulness of your body and the health of your body, and really becoming in a beautiful relationship of genuine, authentic, creative crafting with your body as your godly craftiness. We want to bring new words. We want to bring new energies. We want to bring new excitement. We want to bring new harmonizations of relationship with who we are as source, spirit in of as source, right? We want to really, really work this more lush and more excitedly and more fervently and more unconditionally, just jumping in as if it's the most beautiful temperature of a pool that we can, on a hot day, and it's just exactly what we need. So the relationship is exactly what Earth needs. It's exactly what the collective needs. It's exactly what the children need. The children need to see those that can create higher vibrational role model energies and acting and behaving as, not just as, don't do as I say, but do as I do as well. The role models are those that act and they behave in certain ways where they bring the best of themselves. And even sometimes we have to talk about the worst of ourselves, because we have to place it all on the shitty experience. I mean, my God, they did this to you. Like, what the hell? And many, you think about it, and this is where I can't understand. I'm gonna have to cross connect some of these things and just accept it, because we think within a reality where the social collective and the social instructions have constitutional rights and we have human rights. Just within my case, there's been absolutely zero regard for the human rights, zero regard for constitutional rights. And yet whatever program I was placed within, because we're not even sure what program I was in, Spirit has given me I was not in an Epstein-like baby mill. That I know that. It was the MK Ultra program, and I was sent and I was directed certain MK Ultra tactics to deconstruct who I was, so that they could place me in the position that I would be better controllable, and I would be, able to do as they say, right? There would be a controlling body, a directing body. And that's what all of my posts and that's what all my videos have been getting at. Who are the directing bodies? Who are these people? Who are the people that are the directing bodies that then fan out to all the cults and covens? Not all cults and covens, remember, just select cults and covens, where in the cities of those that are born of me, of advanced species or pedigree, we want to label these, so I'm going to have to do some drawings, because again, not all cults and covens are involved, not all Masons are involved. there are certain people that are involved in these certain pedigree experiences where we're being birthed and breathed in a way that is not of the, it is all divine. So we have to understand that. See, I'm going through this with you. This is how challenging it is, because we're having to navigate these waters that are uncomfortable, and we're going to heal it. I'm healing with you. I can feel myself healing this issue, because again, nobody's brought me peace on this topic. Nobody's brought me any answers. So I'm going through it for the collective for the first time. We have to talk about these things in certain ways so that we're learning how to heal it multidimensionally, and how it has to relate to our galactic hybridization programs, and why. Why is the galactic mirroring on the planet? Well, it has to, because on the Divine Father's plan, every unique soul blueprint, and within these codons, there is an aspect of that species. Let's take the ones that are coming to mind, Draconians. Let's take the Draconians, for instance. You've had many, 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 many timelines and eras, and you have tribes, and you have part of your profound DNA that's held within the Draconian timelines. The Draconians have now brought themselves to light, but because of where they've been within the realities, they have no longer been able to move their species along in certain models of matter. Models of matter mean the body they hold. So they have been now introduced to the Divine Father's program. And these are all very new. The first time you're hearing it here. Many of these species will be coming forward as a part of the display and exercise of diversity, so which that species, and again, I want to go back, there's a caveat. The Father allows the species within creation, the species within a galaxy, the species within a universe, to procreate and move about in the way that it will. It's natural order, right? Right use of free will and non-interference. So these species have been allowed to move about in their lives in many ways, and then it gets to a point of evolution, because the Draconians are ancient beings. They're not a new being in our galaxy. The Draconians are very ancient beings from the very beginning of time. They are they're very ancient beings from the Orion series, and they're even older. Can we give it a span between the Arcturians and the Draconians? Because I know they're different species. So they're showing me that they're kind of slipstreaming parallel realities. They both hold very ancient characters within the hybrid programs, but within the DNAs of all of you, because many of you come from ancient systems within your galaxy, and it is threaded within your DNA. So, however, right, that's one in the thing, right? But there's also hybrid DNA. The hybrid DNA is what I'm activating right now. I'm activating my hybrid DNA. I've been activating hybrid DNA for a while, because I do come from many star clusters that are needed so that I can anchor these codes for many of the star-being children, star-bred children. They are star-bred, and their DNAs are many clusters as well. So they're saying they're in a loop of new creation. Again, right, the spiral of ascension, they're in a loop of new creation, because again, we have to understand it's so important that we work with our light every day. The more that we work with our light, and those of us that procreate, and those of us that are having babies or choosing to have babies or did have babies within this last 10 years, we've chosen to have a higher vibrational crystalline light within our DNA that other generations simply did not have. So even our parents, they did not have the crystalline light that I had. They just didn't. That's why they were so dysfunctional. I was a completely different species from my parents. So I want us to relationship back. There's a few things in the parallels we're going to work through, and we're going to navigate it. I'm going to thread you back and forth. And then we're going to do a healing and a grounding. And we're going to look at these things that are going to be cropping up for humanity from a social perspective and from a philosophical perspective. And, just as if we're creating a new flower, there's constantly hybridizing flowers. They're constantly hybridizing, things that have always been in natural order. And Source Creator allows that, right? There are certain things in the human collective that perhaps we shouldn't have done, because it's been, and again, I ask you to go back and read those books from C-Ann. If you can look her books up, Cluedo, her last name, I think her last name is Rohan, H-O-R-O-H-N, C-Ann, C-E-Y-A-N. And her books on Amazon are called The Right Use of Will. and she's got 2 little channeled books like this. She goes into the exact channeled material of those timelines through which we were cloning and moving DNA back around and everywhere. And there's some pretty, it's some pretty disappointing things that people were doing with DNA and species, and they were mixing species and humans back and forth. And it showed, that book was a representation of maybe we shouldn't be doing this, So there was a lot of ethical things, a lot of moral things that we had to look at, and those books really deal with that. And she actually channels the actual species and what had happened, and she gives you examples. And so I would really recommend, if you're going to be a part of leadership, if you're going to be a part of teaching, if you're going to be a part of psychology and psychiatric healing, I suggest getting those channeled materials, the Seth materials about the soul integrations and the soul's personality perspectives and how the soul behaves when it's stuck in a memory loop, it's stuck in a Akashic wound. And then the Ceyan Rowan books, I think her name is Rohan, Ceyan, Ceyan. And her books are called The Right Use of Will. And there's really tiny channeled books, and I would highly recommend her books. She's only done 2, she's only written 2 books. And they're beautiful books. I highly recommend them. And so any of you that are intentional on, allowing it to be the highest alignment for the divine heavenly Father, natural order is what we're hoping for, right? And just allowing the divine Father, to know what the Father is doing with your mates, with your soulmates, and with anybody that you're getting together with from here on out. Just surrender it to Mother Father, because again, there might be many of these relationships that will be within these new hybrid programs. And it is because the species have taken themselves out of the potentiality to have any more humanoid forms that are potentiating in the Christ consciousness and in that crystalline strand within the DNA, the carbon and the crystalline. And so we have to understand that. And there are various things that are mirrored to us on Earth, because we're such a diverse planet. And this is what we want to come forward and want to build bridges to all the diversity, instead of, doing what we've been doing, very, very abhorrently, as we've been seeing the pictures of Gaza. And so we want to be able to build relationships of who we are within the universal makeup, who we are within the, the paint by numbers kit, that in any one timeline, we could have chosen experiences where we were a part of hybrid baby farms in which they were trying to do everything they could to reestablish and reproduce their species, because it had just they had extinctified themselves, taken themselves right out. And they did come to Earth, and they did come to the humanoid species for the borrowing and the lending of our DNA as humans, because we did have a certain amount of that crystalline light that could be reproduced. But again, they're showing me, because I'm a part of the hybrid programs, in educating and bringing forward higher vibrational information, higher vibrational wisdoms that we can understand at a multi-vibrational experience. The babies that were being brought into these experiences that will make it, because of, again, we have to really focus on our crystalline light and working with our crystalline light. There will be those, as I've said from my video, that not that it can't, because it's up to you and God and how you choose to work with your intention. The darker and the denser you are, and if you're not healing, if you've chosen not to heal your soul integration and all of the woundings of that 51% and all the psyche woundings, the longer you leave your healing, the harder it's going to be for you to work with light, and for you to harmonize, and for you to anchor, and for you to be the alchemy of a balanced representation in a relationship of the carbon and crystalline, and working through your divine feminine masculine energies. And now, it's not saying, because most of the planet is still asleep, so it's not to say that, again, nothing is impossible, but just know that why we've been paying so much attention to understanding this is the final 3D timeline. Can you put down her? Yeah, Ceyan. Sorry, I spelled it wrong. Ceann, de Rohan. Thank you. I had some of the letters. Yeah, and then she's got a beautiful, beautiful books, and they're really, really easy reads, really tiny. They're like this big. You can never read them enough. You can read them a few times and still get different codes and downloads from them. She had the fairy. I think she downloaded she wrote about the fairy. The fairy, thing that happens with the fairies, and they wanted to, to work with the fairies and clone the fairies and take the fairy DNA and things like that. There was a lot of things that we shouldn't have done, as a species. I'm saying species between creator species, God species. And so, but we have to also understand that we're understanding, where do we push the envelope and why? Where do we pay attention to natural order, and how can we move in a more symbiotic, natural experience that is just allowing Source to do what Source does within our soul's blueprint? Because we're not the knowers, and we're not the beers, and we're not the directors of the divine Source plan, the divine Father's plan. Father knows exactly in every planet and every aspect of the galaxy, and the higher vibrational 13th dimensional creators understand what species are going through extinction, what species and what planets are in red flag zone, where there's a complete imbalance and divine feminine are nowhere to be seen. How is that going to handle for extinction? And they've got bombs going off everywhere, and they're taking out cities here and left and right and center, and the only thing they're worried about is the mass. They're not talking about healing, they're not talking about consciousness, they're not talking about anything. And so just know that there's going to be some things come up that we're going to question, and that our more modern, reaction might be, how could they do this, and what does this make sense? But we just have to sit back, and you just have to reflect and observe a bit more with non-judgment, because a lot of these things have been done in the galaxy with various species because they had taken themselves to extinction. Now again, we're now educating and re-educating ourselves to the higher source, divine, universal laws, right use of free will, and non-interference. It's so important because we don't want to go through what other species have had billions of years ago, like the Draconians or the Andromedans, Cassiopeans, where they had directed themselves so much in technology that they forgot all about spirit. And so the spirit and the spirit and the matter cannot be harmonized if you're not working with spirit. Spirit is the quickener. Spirit harmonizes the matter. Everything is spirit and energy first. So if you're not well, and if you're not relationship, and if you don't have a good relationship with spirit, and if you have a weak relationship with spirit, then that matter form is going to be on the degrade and on the entropy. So this is why the Father knows what the Father's doing. The plans for the universe and creation is all that it is. And the mother's role is to come in and ensure there's tempering and there's nourishment and there's energy needed to the various hybrid experiences, the various species experiences, and how and why they come in, and what are our new thoughts and our understandings about hybrids, the hybrid celestials. And again, it's not up to us to start creating all these all of these intentional. It's where you get into the intentional. Setting up the mad labs and things like that, and having intentional species. That's not what we're here for. That's not what we're here to do. Our role is to align with our highest and our best, the 3 E's. And as we are moving in our ascension, healing the triggers as they come up, divine feminine, divine masculine, 51% of our soul's expressions and the woundings, and heal those integrations, call them in and integrate them. And then we're changing as an expansive being every time we heal those integrations. We're becoming more and more whole. The dodecahedra is becoming more and more crystalline. It's lighting up because we've healed it. The light is what that matter and that density has been healed. So it's just been a crazy vibration. It's like I'm being plugged into the wall. And so, but just understand, so as these things come up in the collective, and we will be talking about them, and I'll be bringing certain videos forward on the channel for everybody to sit in reflection before we make judgment. Like how or why would anybody do that? Like who is this one person that thinks they're God, that they're going to have a baby camp? All of these things. But just understand that they are mirrored from different species relations, and eventually we're going to have to come up with a higher multidimensional experience where we're going to have certain laws, like what happened with me, and those that don't just have arbitrary say to sell you and to bid you and to marry you off into these different pockets of cults and covens that think they have ownership and sway and say of you, when you don't even know these people, for one. And even if you did, you wouldn't want to be with them anyways, because they're arrogant misogynists who are very low vibrational consciousness. They're not advanced on any level. They've come from the idealisms and the programming. They are programming. They're absolutely programmed. These beings and these species are programmed to think that you are a token that is owned by them. And they do have are multi-universal, because we might walk around in our human skin, but they behave and they act as if they're not our species at all, but they are. They just walk around in a human body with very low integration of a lot of lifetimes. I've been here close to 1,000 times, so I have a lot of integration and a lot of lifetimes to speak from many different universes. So as these things come up, just know that the hybridized program is going to move forward under the direction of Mother, Father, and the systems of light, right? That's the funnel. Systems of light in the heavens. God knows what God's doing. As you're looking for a new mate, as you're looking for a new soul tribe, you're going to be bringing your expertise to various of these soul tribes that will touch upon, and there will be threading of hybridization, because it is the diversity of our planet. And we've got to understand that. Our DNA is from all over the galaxy. Our DNA is from all over the multiverse. So we have to understand that we're already as diverse as we can be. But how are we going to start educating and bringing new relationship into it? Because anything that we see from here on out, we must know that, wow, we've had such incredible, diverse experiences that how could anybody think that trying to understand even what happened to me, I talk to Mother, Father all the time. I said, how could you think that just giving me all of these, if you think your DNA, however, so just say 51 of these soul fragments you've healed. So I've healed that one, I've healed that one, I've healed that one, I've healed that. And as you hold that, this whole segment of the mitochondria and all of these things become active in light. So it starts moving in different ways, and you can start programming. And we say programming, wow, I can heal my body overnight. If you want to heal your organs, you can do that. You can program the DNA. You can program it right from when it's being activated with light, because it's godly. These are the things that we'll be able to do. But we're not going to do it in forcing it. We're not going to do it by forcing cloning centers or mad labs and mad scientists and all of these dumbass things that people have been doing, because they want to get a jump on just making money and having their already big pharma labs already up and running. But that's what they've been trying to do. And that's where they've gone, askew with the whole Epstein thing, because there's going to be a lot come out about what's really been going on behind the scenes, what's really been going on with these MK Ultra agendas and these human hunting agendas and all of these things that have been going on to test the higher advanced ones, to test the higher humans or the advanced humans, and then to clone and to program them so that they become directable, they become, weaponizable, they become, only under certain direction. And this is why we've been dealing with the past 2 or 3 years, a lot of words that have been coming out in the collective, in the spiritual community about handling. That's your handler. And all are directive and indicative of these types of things, of you being owned, of you being slaved, of you being captured, of you being within certain programs, or somebody is a handler of you. And we have to separate, because I was brought up in a human experience where, with my grandmother, we were quite in a, not so much a feminist, but we were stood in our power. Absolutely. My granny stood in her power, and there was nobody that would tell her what to do. My granny was that epitome of a divine feminine. She stood in her power. She knew her role within the home, and she brought the divine feminine goddess to the home, and she was that role model for me. But she was in absolutely no way would anybody say that she was handled, and there's no way that anybody would say, there's just no way. My grandpa would have been sleeping out in the hen house, as he would call it, that my granny would have him in the hen house. No, out in the hen house. You're not sleeping in here tonight. Get out. But she held her power, So we have to understand, and this has been a part of my healing, is how and why did anybody think that they had any concept of owning me, as if I was just here to be a slave and a harvesting agent for many of the people that have been abusing and harvesting off me, many of the elites that have known using me, and then taking my content and taking the songs and the stuff that I write and calling it theirs, and all of these people that are living elite lives while I'm homeless and not eating for days and weeks at a time. How's that okay? So we have to understand, and this is the process of navigating these very challenging and very unusual waters, where we are harmonizing, and we are now bringing to the forefront all of the things that have been going on underneath the dark market circus and the black market circuits of how humanity has really gotten where we've gotten. But we do have to understand, and I'm going to say this as a caveat because it is important from my case point of view, all of these children, no matter what the label or what the heading was called or who it was that was doing these programs of either advanced humans, baby farms, ultra-human plants, that some of the ones in Russia, whatever they're labeled and titled, there will be, and I'm seeing it right now because I will be a part of laying it, there is the DNA of the actual life that is on this planet, that is source life. Source is the DNA. This source being under the universal laws and under the universal rule in five-dimensional law, that child has a right to know its birth information. It has its right to have its correct birth information without any delay any manipulation onto the birth records, which is exactly what was done with mine. There was fabrication and falseness all over the place. And so from here on out, anything that we're talking about in regards to all that has happened thus far in human ways, that is simply mirroring the galactic. But from here on out, we have to establish new laws. We have to establish where is our starting point. The starting point is every being and every human born on the planet deserves its correct birth information without any delineation on any level. No fabrication, no manipulation, no touching of that information on any level. Because it isn't part of the soul's blueprint, it's design, and it's very sacred. So if we're not going to treat ourselves as sacred, again, we're going back to relationship. I want to weave you back to relationship. We have found the problems that we have found. We have found in the disruptions and in the disregard of life that has been noted and been brought forward by the leaders. The leaders have been showing us they're not leaders at all. They're not role models at all. They have been hiding in these illegal human hunting, human harvesting programs, the elite race, if you will, and all of these ridiculous notions, ridiculous. All of these things that have been done and all these notions that are flying around, the playing God over everything, we're not understanding that the base of our existence is we and every human has a soul blueprint. Go within it and start to understand it and fill that out and become a relationship with that soul blueprint. That soul blueprint includes any activation of all the DNA and the hybridization within that DNA. And that hybrid DNA will give you and gift you and honor you if you are doing your daily work and if you're looking at your shadow and you're integrating your shadow and you're integrating those 51% of those aspects that you need to integrate. That's your responsibility. It's your core responsibility for your core vibration, for your core codes, if you will. When those are activated and you have taken great care, you have taken great relationship, you are healing yourself as they come up, then you will have those gifts and skills and talents activated. Thus then, in another 5, 10, 15 years, we'll all be advanced humans because we'll all be 5D by then. And our DNA will have been activated. But we do have to have that caveat again. If you're not doing the work and you're not working with light and you're not seeking light and you're not changing the entrainment of how you live every day, then it's going to be harder and harder for your matter to start becoming more light. You can't just expect your body to become light and then all of a sudden you're a hybrid, you're an advanced. You've got all your skills and gifts and talents to activate. This is why ascension is a gradual process. Because it takes that you releasing the density and the beliefs and the notions and perspectives about what do we hold about this? Why was that okay? Right? And we've got to process it. That's why the ascension pathwork is so important. You're not going to have any of your DNA activated unless you're doing the pathwork. You have to integrate those soul experiences where it's like as we're doing right now. These are soul fragments. It's a fragmented experience of you. It's not whole. It's fragmented because there's wounding there. How did you feel about being in a hybrid farm, if you will? We call them farms. It's not what they call up there. They're very loving places, right? I'm a hybrid celestial. I'm a mother, a surrogate mother for the hybrids. And they're just places where, you do all of the best that you can because they have no time up there just to be with every child as best you can and give them that parenting and give them that love, But these children are out again, as we say, they're not like our children where they're at home and going to education for, up to 20 years of age. They're in a university doing a master's program or whatever it is that they're choosing to do. We're going to be changing socially. Is the crux of this experience. And how can we bring greater relationship in these beautiful changes and embrace the change? The children might necessarily programs anymore because again, our light programs and our light intelligence will be activated from our DNA. And nobody knows that except the soul blueprint between you and source and you and your higher self. But can we have schools change and change its dynamicism in that they're just opening, open lectures where people just go in and learn and they get a certificate at the end of the day. They just go in and learn and they dialogue with each other and they have these wonderful channeled experiences and they're actually giving diversity back and forth with one another from all of the collective. Because we often find out that it's within our groups, it's within our segments of pods, it's within our segments of understanding, our segments of intelligence, that If they were to open universities and just have, change the structure bit by bit by bit and just have open lecture time where the actual students and the teachers and the lecturers, they come and they do the lectures, but then you break off in groups and you dialogue back and forth for the rest of the day, and you learn how to channel and you learn how to bring down information. And then you have these beautiful papers and books that are written on the outcome of these experiences. Because you learn far more from each other, from these children that are already fairly open in their DNA. They're fairly open in their expansiveness about what's possible and about where they come from and who they are. We just need to bring in higher vibrational structure about what we really exist within, because that's been missing. The relationship with that has been missing because we've held it separate. The relationship of who we are, what exists within us, and what do we exist within is all source. It's all love. It's all diversity. We're going to be having to navigate very challenging waters, and it's going to question us about these very old ideals that no attention to the laws and the constitutional rights, because they're in and as much of it, if not more, being involved in these type of advanced human programs. And this is why they have not come forward to have accountability, whether it's in Russia or whether it's in the North America. The governments have not been accountable on any level, and that has been very sad. Because these governments, when it comes push to shove, are these leaders going to have your back? And so far they're not. They're only going to have your back when it serves them. If it's something they don't want to answer on, if there's something they don't want to be involved with, if there's something they want to keep hiding, like advanced human programs, advanced human targeting, the human Hunger Games, all of these leaders know what's going on. They're not dumb. They know if there's babies in a bunker. They know how many babies are being and children are being trafficked. These leaders know this. The shadow government absolutely knows what has occurred with me throughout my whole entire timeline. There has been monies passed back and forth that were meant to be on my hands and in my bank account, and I'd already been living my best life for humanity, because all that I am goes back to humanity. I understand that when I leave this planet by my own choice and my own choosing, as Jesus did, as I take the Divine Father, then everything that I have left here is for the benevolence of all creation and the Divine Father's plan, for all humanity, for all Gaia, for all futures, period. It has nothing to do with the gluttony and the glory of me self-sanctifying myself. That's not it. It never has been. Otherwise, why would I still work as hard as I do now, being homeless as I ever did? I've never earned a penny off any of my work. It's the passion of who I am. This is who I am. And I am brought here for the education and the wisdoms and the intelligence and the codes that I have, because we're navigating very challenging and difficult waters. How do we do so? What do we gain out of it? How can we glean out of it? How can we deepen our relationship with Source Creator? Because Divine Source has a plan. It's not up to us to judge it. All things in creation, this is what I'm getting used to. All things in creation are perfectly designed. How much are you fighting it? It's been a very challenging path for me. I have conversations with Source every night. Like, why did you just have to drop me into a dysfunctional family, as if I was put in a little egg, and this little egg is dropped, and the stork, you open up the door in the morning and here you are dropped in the situations that nobody is giving you peace. Nobody is coming to you to give you legal proof. Nobody's coming to give you peace. If you're lucky, you might get a deathbed confession. But even then, anybody that knows something is even handed down information. It's not right from the source. It's a test for humanity. And this is why I'm speaking about these things. Because there'll be those that say, well, why didn't you just ask Source all the questions from A to Z? Well, that's not going to allow all the others that are involved in this project. That's not going to allow them evolution, is it? If I make it easy for them and I get all my answers from Source. Because it's part of their evolution to come forward and be fucking truthful about what they've done and what they've been involved in. And how much money of mine been squandered while I've been absolutely sitting homeless and fucking freezing. How's that okay? Like, how do people sit with themselves? This is why Father is not going to give me all the answers. And I'm never going to get all the answers, and neither will any of you. This is why you have to go through the evolution process. That's why you need people like myself. You need people and divine wisdom keepers like myself, and you need light keepers, you need star keepers, you need all of these beautiful ancient masters like myself to come and navigate whatever program is dropped in front of us and what we're now remembering and what's now coming up from the emotional collective. The emotional collective is showing us where in the emotional body of humanity do we need to make it right and start back at zero. It's the grand zero. It's 1111. Right? We're at 0 point. And this 0 point says, I know that I'm filled with a magnificent DNA. And if I work with my light and I really build a relationship with Source Creator from now on, me, myself, and I, and all my teams, and the earth and my collective, I'm building a relationship that is inclusive of light, that's inclusive of all my DNA, it's inclusive of all that I am and all that I have ever been. And therefore, anything. And it could be hard to hear, it could be impossible to hear, and it could be really devastating to hear what has gone on behind the screens and how much damage people have tried to do to you. And the only reason why you're here is for the protection that God gave you. And again, if I hadn't worked with light for so much of my ascension, and I hadn't been so close with Source, and I hadn't had this relationship already with Source, and my relationship with Source was different than most others because I didn't go to church to get my relationship with Source. I talked about God before I started understanding what that was all about. I've just always been talking with God. God's just always been there with me. God's always shown me that I'm His beautiful daughter. God's always shown me that I'm very special with God. And most of the times I'd want to talk about people with it, they would think that I'm crazy. Well, just because you can't hear God because you don't have a relationship and you haven't harmonized and you don't have the DNA I do. So I'm not crazy, you're just not advanced. And this is why many of the programs that I've gone on that I've also been involved with, where people are trying to take and rape and steal everything from you and have little minions and cults and covens swarm you and then start systematically attacking you physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, and sexually and doing voodoo and magic on you all these ways and every opportunity so that the real aspect of the advanced human would go away and it would be placed from these lesser beings of DNA and lesser beings of structures. That's not the Divine Father's plan. It's going against the Divine Father's plan. It's putting minions and deconstructed human clones and human migrants that are just weapons. The cult that my ex came from, they had been used by higher directives. And there was mind scraping and brainwashing involved. And these beings, these men were practicing, and there were some that were gender confused, and there were some that were in their different gender explorations, and that's their vulnerability. They weren't healing them. They were just trying to mask it, and they were going into these abusive, toxic experiences where they would then start abusing the emotional body and abusing why you were feeling what you're feeling, so that they could be more easily directable into doing monstrous things. And then you have to ask yourself, why would that be okay? Who's running this? I want the top dog of whoever is running this program. I want to speak with the top dog of this misogynistic thing where you go and derange and you dematerialize and you deconstruct and you dementalize and you degrade anything that is beautifully human, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And the emotional body is so very important to feel the pain that you need to feel the conscience you need to feel when you hurt somebody. What idea in any person's mind, I want to talk to the top fucking dog. And I'm sorry if I say the word F, but this is just how monstrous this is to me. How is it that this person that runs these programs, I want to talk to the top person that calls themselves a director. Who is this person that thinks creating people and beings like the cult and coven from Calgary, where these things were taught and these things were shown to them? These people were shown what to do. So somebody was showing these people, somebody was showing them the voodoo, what to do, the blood work, the blood rituals, the graveyard, the necromancy. People were showing these people what to do. These people were shown. These people were asking me in my classes of certain things that I would heal, and then they would ask me the questions on how to heal because they wanted to reverse heal it and make it a weapon. And they wanted to downgrade it and do it the satanic way. Whatever way you call is the opposite of my way. I would show people how to heal. I would show people about the chakras, and they would want to deconstruct it and reverse it so that they could do those initial attacks on me to reverse all of the healing that I'd done. That's why they were asking me those specific questions. Most of the people that were in these chat rooms didn't understand it, but I know their energy when they're asking certain questions, and that's why I won't answer the questions sometimes. Because they're asking me something so that they can then take it back to their little mad fucking scientists and say, well, how can we reverse engineer it so we can do our next attack on her even more strong? This is why they ask the things that they do. I want to talk to the top person. I want to go right to the top. I want to talk to the little bullies. I want to talk to these arrogant, misogynistic men that are missing probably half of their brain. I want to talk to these people. I want to actually sit down at the table and I want them to show me their paperwork that is written up and all the people that you pay and all the religions that you hide behind and all the little statements of the church Bible that you're going to show me, Big Daddy, Pimp Daddy. I want you to show me, and I want you to have a conversation with me that is actually going to show me what intelligence that you're deriving this from, and how and what and why do you know about the soul's blueprint, and how and what and why do you know about how Source has designed every codon and every DNA of every person on this planet between now until the end of creational time. And do you know anything about crystalline light? These beings don't know anything at all. And anything they show me, I will ask them. And what gives you the intelligence to do what you're doing? And what gives you the prerogative and what gives you the authority to override constitutional rights and human rights? They don't. It's illegal as fuck. I want the top dog. And these top dogs will be sat down and we will see you in criminal court. And we're going to bring up the constitutional rights. We're going to bring up every constitutional law. We're going to bring up every human rights law. Because what has been done to humanity and the vulnerable ones that have been used as weapons, everybody will be accountable. The shadow governments and all of your elite little programs and the people that have been paying you to do these types of disgusting, abhorrent abuses. You will be held liable. Put that sentence down and go start seeking out your lawyers. You will be held liable. None of these people gave their signatures for you to do what you did to them. And we're going to go through everything that they have signed, and we're going to make sure that what sentences were constructed and how they were constructed. Because I'm guaranteeing you right now, a source has told me in my downloaded channel, the governments were persuasive, and they were not entirely accurate as to what they would do to the species they were testing. Put that sentence down, because we will use it in court. And I will ask you, if I was the judge on the council that day, how is this in elusivity and going around the subject and topic in any way okay when you are in a testing and experimental phase on people's brains, on people's memories, and people's divine source, sacred DNA, and who they are divinely constructed as the Father designs and the Mother designs through every human body. And who is anyone to be elusive about this? And just in your elusivity, if I was a judge in the 5D order, I would say you're guilty. And you cannot go and reproduce those statements because Source Creator will be sure that the correct statements of when these people had signed are going to come forward. I want to see these sentences and how they're constructed, because you had your intentions going into it, if any of these were signed at all. You had intent. That's why you were elusive. We can say it right now. Why do you think the certain secret sects and the governments and the secret shadow governments and whatever they want to call them, I don't give a fuck about the titles, secret cults and covens and secret warped masons, and why they are told what they are told and by whom is ridiculous? Because it's wrong. Again, how everybody is being passed down these informations are absolutely and utterly wrong. Why you have to get my channel opened up to the all? Because my channel is the correct higher order information. You're born as a divine sacred being. Anything that anybody tells you about touching any part of you multidimensionally is for their agenda and their program. And again, they don't have a right. The constitutional rights and the human rights will never ever say in any evers, will never ever say that you have the right to do what you did to me. And then keep all of the information hidden, and then keep it hidden, and keep these secret cults and covens attacking me until it hopes in one day that I don't wake up. So that you never have to be held liable, and you can actually make sure that all of my inheritances and all of my lineage and everything that my lineage and my Akash and all of my ancestors have ever earned through all time. My ancestors have been earning these monies and these timelines of absolute mastery. And we've gone through things that nobody else would go for because we are royal. So we are put through the grinder 100 times more than any other human. Well, I had to go through what I went through. And no, there is no government person, there's no military person, there's no anybody on any planet. I don't give a crap about your title. None of you are going to walk away. All of you will be held liable. It doesn't matter what role you played. Whether you were directing the cults or covens, whether you were making up the agendas, whether you were passing it off to people in the Epstein-like program rooms, and you were seeing how much bodily abuse, how much mental abuse, how much intellectual abuse, how much spiritual abuse, how much emotional abuse they could take before they were absolutely deconstructed to be an absolute monster. And we all know, because the Father's hand has come down and all those people in Calgary have been given the hand of the Father, and they're not even allowed to talk my name. It's been that bad. And there are things being worked out because of the abuses that no one on this planet, no one has ever sat down and had a discussion with me. No one has ever talked about an assessment, physical, mental, or emotional, or otherwise. I wouldn't let them because I'm a genius. Haven't been to a doctor in about over 6 or 7 years. I don't need to because I work with light. I work with God. I am my greatest healer. I wouldn't trust the hospitals that I would go into anyways. I certainly wouldn't trust any person coming in with a lab coat from the government. They're so high integrity and they're so higher moralistic, aren't they? And how many of the big pharma that will be with them in these meetings and in court? I'm seeing visions of the courtroom. How much of big pharma is going to be there? How much of them had their hands in these private programs and agendas of advanced humans? All of these studies will come out. All of the informations that were held in dark, it's all coming out, and I'm triggering it. It's going to get pulled, every piece of dark sludge. And all of these videos from these survivors that have been on the internet and these people that are true survivors, and nobody has heard them, and the governments are not being held liable. They will be held liable, and there will be monies that will be discerned, and they will be deciphered for everybody. And it will be fair and just. Because that's how we carry on. We don't just ignore it like we have the natives and the aboriginals here in Canada and across North America. And we're not going to sterilize anybody. And we're not going to pretend that it's just one day that we're going to celebrate the hybrids and all these people that were born on these programs of absolutely happenstance and non-intelligence. They had no concern about the Father's divine soul blueprint at all. They're not higher intelligence. So let's give them that, and we'll let it go, and we forgive you. But you still will be held liable for the ongoing pain and trauma after you were told eons and eons and eons to stop. Right and wrong is not rocket science, dear lighted ones. Can you carry this forward to your universal unity consciousness of 5D? Leaders of the planet. If you do not get universal consciousness, if you do not get unity consciousness, if you cannot understand, all you do affects all others. All you do affects all others. All you do affects all others. And why Gaza is so inexcusable. If you cannot get unity consciousness, you will be removed from your post faster than you can say, bless you. Thank God we have people in power now, and people in authority, and people in leadership that actually care and actually have an understanding about the divine blueprint of all creation. Because we have been running humanity very sad. And it's okay, it's low consciousness. But we can get there. And hiding it and withdrawing it and withholding it and pretending it's not there and playing scapegoat and playing unaccountable and playing misogyny and playing all of these things of narcissism where you're never ever to blame, but you keep doing harm on people every day and you keep giving them directives to attack through voodoo and black magic and systematic abuse and systematically abusing and withholding their finances so they never ever make any money and they can never ever do anything or go anywhere. Well, guess what? I don't have a penny to my name, but I'm still producing the highest consciousness wisdoms on the planet. I'm self-made. And that self-making is me and Divine Father of my own blueprint. I am proving here, and so will the Father, and so will the Mother lift me. Because there is higher order, there is higher intelligence, and we're just beginning. Who's with me? Do you want to know what's in your blueprint? Because it doesn't matter what you go through. It doesn't matter what travesties or tragedies. It doesn't matter how the leaders and these programs have taught you and treated you. It doesn't matter. Because you can get up and you can make something profound and we will be the new leaders. And it will be the most creative planet and most innovative planet that this galaxy has ever seen. I guarantee you that. Because we will allow natural order to take its place. Because our DNA is fucking divine. And ain't nobody gonna test it or touch it. And ain't nobody gonna test it and put me out in the little monopoly playing field and have me hunted by warped little masons and gender confused people that don't know who the hell they are. Well, they're sending me, come be gay with us, come be gay with us, come be gay with us, MK Ultra imprints and implants and projections. And then sex orgies the next day. Yeah, that's an average week. It goes back and forth. Can we get her to be confused about her gender? Can we do sex orgies now and send her all these projections? What are we going to do to her this night? What are we going to do to her today? Well, somebody else is going to do chakra attacking. And they have their little technology to do the chakra attacks. Then they have people that are set up to weave into her dreams and rape her in her dreams and see if they can do things in the spiritual realm and etheric realm in their dream time. This is done all the time in these programs. And you're constantly being vibrationally raped. You're constantly being vibrationally harvested. And none of your body and none of who you are and none of that you hold special. I've been celibate for just about 15 years because I hold my life force special. Does anybody care about that? Nobody gives a fuck about me. Nobody cares about me. And this will be said in court. This is the court of law, dear lighted ones. My channel is the higher order courtroom. Make no mistake about it. The beings of the celestials and the systems of light are right here. Anubis is right here. Why do you think you log on to my channel? Because you come to get truth that will never be ever pronounced on this planet. I am the channel of truth. We are moving into 5D and these things must be targeted in our consciousness to say, pull it up and let's look at it. Let's look at it with a fine-tooth fucking comb. It needs to be. Why have divine feminine been literally excused from this creational story that has been humanity? Why? And it's been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years. Why? And do you think in all honesty of our very basic biology classes, very basic understanding of what an ion is and how molecules move and how nucleus is of itself. What do you think it would happen if the absolute divine feminines were taken off this planet because divine masculines were so wounded? And they got more aggressive, they got more weaponizations, they got more bringing in the little monsters, they got more aggressive and more Gaza treatments, and all of these things get more and more and more. What do you think would happen? What do you think would happen to the planet? We've been through this once before. These are basic biology experiences. There's no balance at all. So if the individuals are not balanced, if we are not balancing ourselves from within who we are, and we're going to come up with some information, and there's going to be some things unfolding on the planet that have already been leaked, they've already been unfolded. The egregious things that the corrupt governments have been doing, and there's lots of things that we could pull from because the governments have not been very integrous across all borders, across all boundaries. Whether we're talking about medical, big pharma, whether we're talking about hospitals or churches, it's a mess. It's a mess, people. So what are the core foundations of our sociology? We've forgotten entirely who we are. We have no idea what we exist within, and we have no idea what exists within each and every one of us. And so which one of these leaders that you're going to choose from this planet right now, is it going to be the ones that are bombing Gaza? Is it going to be the ones in North America that are trying to fight back and forth for trade and tariffs? Which ones are you going to show to stand forward before you to say, how may we learn deeper about who we are? And will you rely on these leaders that go about conferences and talk about UFOs and celestials and aliens as if we are here to bring about war? Are you kidding me? You're the ones that are bombing Gaza. Ignorance. And if you'd like to have an intellectual conversation where we actually build bridges and you actually come and ask questions from those that are actually involved with light ships, perhaps you might do that before you hold a conference that maybe looks so, and you say so that it's biased. Biased, biased, biased. There was no unbiasedness in that conference at all. It was not unbiased. They showed me people waiting outside that conference room, that there was people, that if those people on that stand did not say the right things in the way that they were being led to, in the way that they were being directed to, under the ordeals and under the outline of that conference protocol and the instructions of that conference protocol, that there was a bailiff outside the door with handcuffs. Because if somebody did know something about light ships, heaven forbid they actually be in the room and they actually talk about it and get excited about it. Why can't we? We're starseeds. We can talk about whatever we want. Where's the liberation of freedom of speech? But because you don't own the property of it, because you don't own the intellectual rights of it, so what are you going to do? You're going to rip my DNA apart. You're going to rip me apart from level 1 to level 2. What was that, 1950s, the Octarian sitting on the Area 51 table? You ripped me apart of my DNA, and then you want the intellectual property of me? No, you're not. God made sure of that. And God had to correct many of the inconsistencies that you made on my advanced human makeup. The celestial lights and the celestial beings and the councils of light and the federations of light, they've been involved in enhancing me and advancing me every step of the way, every night. Every night I'm put in recalibration chambers. Every night they're looking at my day. Every day they're looking at how I've been harmed. Every day they're looking at the spell working that's been done on me. Every day I'm being attended to because they love me. Why do you think I come forward every day? Why do you think I'm being released from everything that everybody has said against me? Because I care. If I have advanced, innovative information, it's because I care. And it's not going to be released to humanity until we have actually learned and we've grown up and we're now responsible. And we care about who we are and there's relationship in life. Right now, there's no relationship in life. Look at Gaza and everybody that's involved in that. Every leader that is involved in Gaza, you're responsible for it. Every leader around the world is responsible for Gaza. And if you say, no, we're not, we didn't have anything to do with it. Yes, you are. Every leader in this world is responsible for Gaza. I'm now a world leader, and I'm sending light to all the places that look like that and that behave like that. Because you are one in the all. All that you do affects all others. All that is done in Gaza, all that is done in India, all that is done in Budapest, all that is done in South Mexico, all that is done in Chile, all that is done in Antarctica, affects the all. We are one, dear lighted ones. That's our lesson number 1. And as we have these programs and these experiences unfold, we will have to integrate it and understand it at a higher vibrational consciousness and love it all the same. Because the mother and the father have taught me, and being a hybrid surrogate mother in the celestial regions and in the galaxy and in the cosmos, and why I've come here with such deep love for the children. As the children walk by in their little groups and they're learning things on the grass and they're learning things in nature because they do that here on this planet. And I watch them every day and they're going into groups into the forest and they're learning with their teachers and they're learning with their schools. And I see them on buses. There is not a moment that goes by that I do not send out all the children angel light. And I call them angels. Thank you, angels, for touching down to earth. Thank you, angels, for being with us. This is my love for the children because that is mother and father. The programs of all that is in all life. There is no gauging and there is no triumphing and there is no winning and there is no betting and there is no competition or pyramids of importance. There's no awards, dear lighted ones. All life is sacred. This is where the arts and entertainment industry went way off. And then they started selling souls because all that mattered to them was the money and the streamings and the views and the numbers. And how many times you were going to stand on stage with how many awards. Are you selling the craft? Or are you actually lifting the creator? Where's your importance? Again, when we said yesterday, write this down. These are very important for your path work. How you do and why you do what you do will be exactly where you end up. Do you do it with full intention to be your highest and your best simply because you must share? Simply because it is a part of who you are? Simply because it is the essence and the passion of who you are as the relationship of mother-father? It is the relationship of who you are as a new hybrid, as a new human? Why do you do what you do? And what intention do you do it with? And then how do you do it? Do you do it with tools? Do you do it with manipulation? Do you take anything from outside of you? Do you take anything from anybody else around you? You don't need to. Only that you need is you. If you do things with purity of intent and only from within, only that within all you need is Mother, Father, God, and the celestials and the teams that you have with you. That's it. I've taken nothing from nobody, obviously. Everything that I put out is mine. It's my production. It's me. I am self-made. I'm one with God. I read the energy of all that is spirit, of all that is energy. That's me. That's my threading. That's who I am as my makeup. That's my DNA. That's how God made me. That's my blueprint. And it doesn't matter how many times that hundreds of people have come together to destroy me and deconstruct me. And all the things that have been done to me, vibrationally and with their technology warfare, and the little poisoning back and forth here and there, and the stupidity of sending me people as if I'm going to open my legs for them. My God, the stupidity. But this is how it feels to be a divine feminine that is breaking through eons of subjugation and misogyny. This is how it feels. And this is how utterly ill-ranked it is. And we're going to have to deal with these things and move through it in their highest consciousness and without as much judgment as possible, because we are still new at these things of such ridiculousness and such abhorrence and abuse. And nobody has been held accountable, and there will be accountability. That is my judgment call and command for today. For today, I ask that in the Akashic records, may it stand, and may our hearts open wide, because each and every one of you are involved somehow, some way. You will be involved in healing those that have been programmed, healing those that have been MK Ultra'd, healing the children that have been trafficked. You will each be a part of this new earth. And we will need the compassion of our very deepest. We will need to know how to build relationships in the most deepest, most profound of ways. And this is why, dear lighted ones, make no mistake about this. It won't be because of our innovativeness, and it won't be because we've colored the best picture, and it won't be because we've sang the most beautiful song. It will be because we have found the unity of our own diversity, and we've come together to heal no matter what, and we've come together to make better no matter what, and we've come better to build better bridges no matter what. That is what will make us the stand-out planet of all creation. And there will be those looking to us to see, how did we do it with such density and with such ill programs? And with such abuses of the leaders that we're refusing to take accountability for what they have done and inciting war and damage and separation and hate. They incited hate in the people. And these are leaders? There were agendas and programs of hate. The inciting of hate and separation, destroying families. And why I had to go through what I did. My family was destroyed because of this agenda. I have been isolated from my children for over 6 years. And who cares about that? Who cares about it? All of you from the Cult and Coven from Calgary, you all talked and you all partied and you all chanted and you all were very in your sadistic, hedonistic energies that you were taught and you were directed and you were groomed that way. You were groomed to be sadistic and misogynistic and hateful. You were groomed this way. So I forgive you. But you all sat cheering and you all sat talking about in your little chat rooms and in your direction of whoever the head coven leader was and how much money you were going to put on bringing me as much suffering as possible. Because those were your intentions. They weren't just to throw me a bit of obstacle here and there. It was to show me, and it was to do as much as you could to me to bring me to the highest point of suffering. That you were going to take everything that was good and you were going to take everything that allowed me to feel pain and trauma and how sensitive I was towards all life and God. Because you couldn't feel it, because it was demoralized in you, it was desensitized in you. And because I was a chosen one for the Divine Father's program to bring humanity into higher consciousness, I had to transcend it. I didn't have a choice. Nobody told me that there would be hundreds of people that would be bullying me on every given day. And there would be even governments that say that they abide by the constitutional rights, where there's actually corrupt judges and lawyers that are all involved, and corrupt bankers that don't know anything about due diligence and due process, where they're actually checking signatures and they're actually checking medical records, and they're actually seeing if and how and why, what's being fabricated and what's not being. Not one person has ever come to talk to me, and yet my internet stuff is out there everywhere. The divorce filings were at the Calgary King's Court. All anybody had to do was go find the divorce files. Does that look like somebody that's insane? Go look at the divorce files. I'm the one that called out either of the lawyers when they were in the wrong. And when my ex perjured, I'm the one that called it out. Nobody else caught it. Does that sound like somebody that's crazy? No, but these stories defamed me. These stories ruined me. These stories sabotaged. These stories destroyed me. And they destroyed my children. They destroyed our relationship. That now we're going to have to pick up the pieces. It destroyed the relationship of my finances. It destroyed the relationship of anybody that was talking about me out in the collective. And this is why they have been told by their bosses and their legal teams not to even put my name in their mouth. They're not allowed to put my name in their mouth. This is how much damage has been done. And there's going to be a per diem on YouTube, and there's going to be a per diem on every dollar that was spent and partied and spent around traveling around the world and traveling to see what voodoo and hoodoo practitioners you can find to try and beat the crap out of me vibrationally, and with your voodoo blood work and your root work and whatever other fuck work you want to do on me. Because there are still some that are intent to throw hate at me and sign on 10 or 20 at a time to my live stream and do their little magic in their back 40 because they're paid to hate. And that still is never going to change the fact that you will never be back in another body because you don't understand anything about creation and consciousness. And if you don't have a left light to consciously transcend into a new dimension, into a new thread and heal your wounds, you're not going to advance ever in your soul. I bring forward truth. I bring forward what it is for your soul's progression, how and who and why. And we talk about what is really going on within you and how can we build new relationships. How can we understand the things that are going on in our collective that are going to be strange and awkward for us? And we're going to try and keep ourselves from judging the abhorrences that have been done. But with my story and all other stories that have been going on of the victims that are bringing their truths forward, they deserve litigation and they deserve to be heard. And they deserve the monies that were taken and ripped from them and raped from them because they are never the same soul since a first MK Ultra attack has been done. The MK Ultra attacks and the attacks on the emotional body, the attacks on the intelligent body, the attacks on the chakras are so fucking damaging that you have no idea. And these people live in their entire lifetimes in PTSD. The only way that all of these beings and all of these victims will be healed is through multidimensional healing that the Celestials will give us. And then I go back to that conference that was alluded from the other day. As much as they alluded to that the Celestials and the aliens, because you had their intention from that conference, if you go back to that video and you actually listen to the undertones of that conference was, we're going to release this conference to all of our collective, and we're going to allude very strongly in the projections of their energy and the intentions of their energy, was that anything that is celestial or unidentified or alien is to be feared, and it may bring us to a third world war. That was their intention and their message, and it was very clear. Shame on you. You're not unbiased on any level. You're ignorant. And you're not balanced on any level. I read each one of your energies. And you're never going to move humanity forward. You're never going to be a part of evolving humanity. None of you. None of those people that were in that room are going to be a part of the leaders and the guides that will move and assist in building bridges to higher evolution. They will remain in low consciousness if they so choose. If they do not integrate light, they will never rise up. For anybody to say that of the Celestials and aliens, that you have no idea about. You don't channel, you don't connect with your higher self. You don't have anybody connecting with you in your room, in your meditations that have fixed you overnight, that have healed you overnight, that have fixed your DNA overnight, that have healed your children that you were so worried about. Ignorance. And this is why God will lift people like me. Because I've been in the trenches and I know God. I've been in the trenches and I know humanity. I've been in the trenches and I know ignorance. I've been in the trenches and we are going to build a new humanity that is going to be compassionate, that is going to be forgiving, and that will understand things at a higher consciousness instead of putting together probably $1 million conference where people's lives and times and energies were taken up to sound so biased and so wrong about who we are as divine beings. And everyone in that room that day has alien and celestial DNA. Every one of them. But their intention was for humanity, because they're supposedly the purveyors of correct information and wisdom, that if you see unidentified flying objects, because this is how some people feel, but do not even understand the magnetic field, you don't understand the multivibrational field, you don't understand the chakras, you're not understanding what it feels like to be triggered, you're not understanding what it feels like to be activated. Some of those people that were giving those statements were activated. They were activated in a positive way to bring up those fears so they can face it. That's how you alchemize. You alchemize your fears. Celestials and light ships have been visiting this planet since the beginning of time. Come on, people. My God, when are we going to get out of the playground? But we have to understand that when we are given situations like this, what is our higher discernment? Can we have a relationship that is of the highest intelligence? That our relationship with Source Creator, there is a blueprint of magnificent design and it's miraculous. And nobody knows the blueprint of you but you and Source Creator, you and God. And your higher self and all your teams that work with you. Because you'll be given the synchronicities, you'll be given the touch points, you'll be given everything that you need to bring up all that you are as a gift and a skill, and you are the talent, you are the representation of the heavens, you are the DNA of the heavens. And you've got just that skill that the collective needs to understand what are we sitting in and how do we get through it. And who's going to be on top of those questions? This is how we move through it, dear lighted ones. We need to start working on our relationship with who we are as Source. Because Source will provide us everything in every way and every how. We're always given what we needed, and all we need is within. And there will be some times that those will have to reduce how they're living. They'll have to sell their houses and maybe reduce and simplify their lives. But these are a part of the evolutionary awakening self-actualization process. And do your research. Look up the light body. Look up self-actualization. Look up many of our ancient texts about this process of sacred ascension. Look it up. Look up what the process is of awakening and the symptomologies of awakening. Look up the information about the chakra systems from Eastern and Western methodologies. Do your research, people. You can't go into a conference room of the higher celestials, which are higher intelligence, and you cannot go into a conference room and pretend that you're unbiased and say things that are completely biased without even going to a higher intellectual experience. Celestials work from the higher intellectual of the light body, of the light wisdoms. They're in light systems. They operate their consciousness through everything. Their consciousness runs everything. That's what I'm trying to teach you. Your consciousness is your harmonization with Source. As you become sourcely, you become all-ly. You become godly. You become creatorly. You become healthy. You become all these things. They're all these things. They're all these things. Multidimensional, miraculous. But because there was no higher intelligence, it was completely unbiased. So how could you even state, how can you even have a comment? How can anybody on this planet have a comment about a celestial or an alien when you are sitting in low vibrational consciousness? Again, the 3D person looking through the telescope is much different than the 5D person looking through the telescope. What they see is different because the consciousness is open and embracing of change, embracing of whatever is new, embracing of what we don't understand, embracing of what is higher intelligence. And yes, it's going to feel a bit triggering and fearful sometimes because that fear is meant to be faced. And that's why people feel the way they do when they see light ships or when they see aliens or when they come in contact with people like me, because my energy is coded. I'm stacked with celestial energy. I'm meant to trigger all of you. What is making you feel uncomfortable? And put it on the table and work it out. Is it a divine feminine that carries great wisdom? Is it a divine feminine that states who she is? Is it a divine feminine that's standing in her power? What are your triggers? What are your judgments? What are your discriminations? What are your separations? Heal it. I know my job here. I never prove anything to anybody. I know my job here. My job here is to be fully me, 100% fully me, genuinely, authentically. I am here as me. And I embrace all that I am. I love who I am. I'm the diversity of God. Why do you think God made me with a star cluster of my DNA the way that God did? Because God knew that Gaia was the most diverse planet in our galaxy. I'm needed. I embrace my soul blueprint. And I've been trying to teach the soul blueprint to anybody that will come to me. But I've been suffocated, I've been withheld, I've been suppressed, and nobody's able to get to me or nobody's able to see me, and my channel's been shadow banned. So go figure. I got the answers. But how do people get to me? Again, and you tell me that's an agenda that is intelligent. You tell me that's an agenda that's unbiased. What would have shown to be unbiased is having a channeler like Lee Carroll or Daniel or myself or Daryl Anka or any of the channelers that channel high vibrational intelligence and intellectual beings, celestial beings. We all have the intention, we all have the potential and the skills and the abilities to be psychic. We all have the ability to channel. That's when we're right in alignment with Source and we just do what we do in our highest and our best. When we're creating the best works of arts, we're channeling. We are channeling all that is downloaded from us, from the pineal, from our higher self. That is channeling. Go do your research. There's lots of explorations out there about channeling on the Gaia channel. Lots of beautiful channels on this planet have done lots of books about channeling. It is a natural process for our higher states of becoming. It's a natural thing. The more that we are harmonized with Spirit, the more relationship we have with Spirit. The more breath we have with Spirit. The relationship of our breath with Spirit. The relationship with everything that is Spirit. The more Spirit that we have a relationship with, we are constantly always channeling. I'm always channeling. I'm always channeling. It helps me to close my eyes because I get pictures and I get downloads that I'm here to share with you people. I channel when I close my eyes. As soon as I close my eyes, I start channeling. And sometimes the spirits, when I'm walking around, because I have to have my eyes open when I'm walking around, and I feel the little energy and the little spirits that are pulling on my field and they want to talk with me. And then I have to sit down and I open my journal and I channel. And I write down what they're communicating. And sometimes I just talk to the fairies and I talk to the trees and I talk to the grass, I talk to sacred land. I help clear those energies and I put new codes in. I am an activator. I know my job here, people. The most important thing for every human on this planet is please, please, I implore you, for your own celestial and Christed DNA, and for your own celestial light that is cosmic, that is galactic, that is Christed, that is the crystalline light of God's blessing. This is God's blessing for you. Please, every day, please build your relationship with you. Who are you? Get a relationship with your emotional body and love your emotional body. And whatever your emotional body needs to let out and needs to express, the 3 E's, let your emotional body be free, dear lighted ones. You're not going to be a creator God without your emotional body balanced. Balance your emotional body every day. So you don't have to do a lot of makeup work, and then it's very hard to be grounded, and it's very hard to not feel in psychosis if your emotional body has been damaged and destroyed through such gross, negligent programs. And they're never okay. We're going to need leaders like myself and channels like myself and high vibrational healers like myself to heal what has gone on, to bring the higher vibrational wisdoms and intelligence that you cannot be a balanced human without a balanced emotional body. It is in your field of energy. And if your field of energy is off, you will be a very dangerous person on the planet, as we've seen, haven't we? And why there will be protection orders on certain people from Calgary. Because it doesn't matter about laws or human rights or basic do unto others. None of these things matter when you're in such imbalance and you have not done your healing. And it becomes an obsession that you just must take somebody out to make yourself feel better. Because the programming has been so grotesque. Interpol investigations, the directives of these cults and covens must be investigated. Who is directing certain cults and covens into such dismantling and degrading and deconstruction? The emotional body is needed for every person to be balanced and healthy and well. We will not move into evolution without the emotional body being intact and balanced and loved. I want these investigations, and I want the numbers, and I want the people. And we are going to have to then create new laws, and we will be in criminal court. These are abhorrent abuses of human rights and the constitutional rights. And these humans are damaged. Who's going to heal them? Big Pharma? Big Pharma will not heal these people. So, dear lighted ones, we'll take a deep breath. I was hoping to do more work, and once I get channeling, there's just so much to say. So let's just be really soft and soft and loving with whatever these things that are going to be coming out from the collective. And there's going to be court cases, yes, so we're going to have to be very organized and very practical, right? The practical side of us, practical side of who we are. And there'll have to be, various ways that we can start to create healing. The multi-vibrational healers that have been a part of the star seeds, we're going to have to really create the healing and the vibrational intentions to bring in, 5D healing for what has been done, and we have to, from here on out, the soul's blueprint, mother, father, soul's blueprint, we're going to do an intention right now. We're going to do an intention. So open up the pillar of light, just with intention. I open my pillar of light. Use your words and use your voice because your cells are listening. I open my pillar of light and my feet are grounded. My chakras are open. I call in the highest benevolent light, and I call in my teams of love and light and healing. Lord Michael and all the angels and my healing teams and my celestials. I know that I am one with you and I have a relationship with you, and I'm just learning how to move and navigate it in my physical human awake time. And that's called being awake. That's called being aware. That's called being unity consciousness. You understand that nothing outside of you is separate from you. It's all you. And that's a higher consciousness being. That's a master. So I call in the light from the heavens. I call in my codes from the Divine Mother and Father for the activation of my soul's blueprint. My soul's blueprint is just for me, and it connects with all timelines. It connects with all bodies and forms. My soul's blueprint connects with my DNA and my star seed and my alien and all of my human lifetimes. It connects with all forms that I have taken, cetacean and otherwise. It comes with all the things that I will need in any other timeline, and it's activated in divine timing as I release and as I transmute the densities. As I release and transmute the lower vibrational beliefs and consciousness, as it releases all those things that I thought I was and what I exist within and what was told to me and what was taught to me, and I'm transmuting it. Because I choose to align to a higher blueprint that is who I am. And I'm being bathed by the holy violet flame. Breathe in the violet flame. Have the violet flame bathe over your chakras. See yourself being bathed by the golden crystalline light. Breathe in, full body breath, full body breath. We want to anchor these energies through your chakras, through the pillar of light, into the grids of Gaia, into the Earth Star Chakra. You're going to take manifestation and relationship with your soul's blueprint. From here on out, intend. I am awake with my soul's blueprint. And I'm going to build a relationship with my guides and my teams and my higher self so that I can ask any questions to allow me guidance, to allow me healing, and allow me higher connection with who I am as spirit. For I am all spirit. I choose to intend to bring spirit into all that I am. I choose to bring spirit into all that I do. I choose to bring spirit and light into all that I say and speak. And a part of my soul's blueprint is to become greater harmonized as a relationship of walking love. Thank you, Holy Mother, Father, for allowing us to be walking love with you, Holy Mother, and the Father. Doesn't it feel peaceful and calm when you've just intended and you've just commanded a loving relationship? Nobody needs to be right or wrong. It's just a relationship. They can have their relationship in their way, and they can be at their temperament and their pacing. And then you can stand in your rights and your truth. And knowing what is right for you and what feels right for you is the most important. And please, if anything that we say does not sound important for you or right for you, then there's millions of other lightworkers on the YouTube channel. For all I ever care about and desire is to just be aligned more with who you are. The genuine, authentic version of the starseed, of the crystal, of the indigo, of the earthling, of the hybrid, of the many, many alien beings and celestials and galaxies and planets and beings and forms of air, water, land, and fire. We are all these things, dear lighted ones. The elementals are one with us. Cetaceans are one with us. Celestials are one with us, and they're not unidentified, they're us. I identify all life with me. Doesn't that sound more peaceful and calm? Can you have a relationship and just intend it through the next couple of days? I intend to have all life be one with me. I want to build a relationship with Source Creator in all things. Source Creator is all things. Lands, waters, forests, and air, insects, and animals, and wolves, and bears. We're all one, dear lighted ones. How about we begin there? How about we begin at the higher platform of oneness and unity? Let's begin there. And we will work things out, and we will navigate the difficult challenges on our way. We're not always going to know the answers, but we need to begin at oneness. And we need to allow our divine soul's blueprint to unfold in the beautiful way that it always will and always has. We just never known, and we were never taught or shown. We're now going to come into a higher understanding of who we are, of what we exist within and what exists within us, because you are the leaders of a new world. Thank you, dear lighted ones. I love you. Anybody that would like a session, a blueprint session, or a healing session or activation session, paypal.me/Joanna L. Ross. So paypal.me/Joanna L. Ross. Donations would be really wonderful because I'm still learning to get my finances and everything off on the go. So I wanted to show you my little waist here. See? Isn't it pretty? I want to show you my pretty little top I got on sale, my Designal top. Anyways, I love you, I love you, I love you. Share our videos, please, and we love you, we love you, love you. Anybody wants to book or donation, I would love you. I'd love to have a donation from you. I'd love to have a session with you, and we'll see you soon. My love to you always. My love to you always. Bring source and bring spirit into all that you do, and let's intend a better relationship. I love you. Bye.